Dinner and a Book is supported by the Rex and Alice A. Martin Foundation of Elkhart, celebrating the spirit of Alice Martin and her love of good food and good friends.
Most of us could define the concept of hospitality, but Restaurateur Will Guidara hopes we'll reach for something that he calls unreasonable hospitality. And yes, we'll define it. Guidara writes about developing and running award-winning restaurants, but his insights can apply to any organization or community like ours. I'm delighted to be sharing the kitchen today with Willow Wetherall, the Executive Director of Downtown South Bend, to discuss Guidara's book, Unreasonable Hospitality, the remarkable power of giving people more than they expect. Willow, I'm so glad you suggested this book.
Thanks for having me on the show.
I loved reading it. And how did you hear about it? It was new to me.
Well, working in downtown South Bend, many of the restaurateurs were reading it, recommending it. I felt like it was the Christmas book of 2024. I gave it to people, I received it, so.
And now I shall do the same. So, in the spirit of this book, let's talk about the menu that we're making today. What are you preparing?
Yes, I am going to be making Armenian lentil soup with dried apricots and a citrus and olive oil cake.
Okay, beautiful. And I'm making some harmonizing dishes here. Citrus and olive salad with fennel, which I love playing with, and some mocktails, some non-alcoholic drinks that are inclusive, will allow you to use fun barware, and are absolutely delicious. So tell me what you're getting started with, and there's a little story about this soup, isn't there, that works with the show?
Yes, I'm going to get started cooking the onions with a little bit of olive oil, and then I'm going to add the dried apricots to some lentils that have been simmering away.
Okay.
But I love this soup. It's one that I've made dozens and dozens of times for friends if they're sick or there was a new baby. Anytime that there was an opportunity to deliver a meal and show a little care.
Yeah, and everybody's got a lentil soup recipe, but this is got some warm spices and really wonderful things, something that makes it unique, special. And I'm just making it, starting with a little simple lemon vinaigrette, and I'm going to start cutting and layering the ingredients for this salad. So let's define this. I sort of love this provocative title. There's the sizzle of the onions, love it. The sound of business getting done.
That's right.
So let's define that idea of unreasonable hospitality. It's kind of counterintuitive. We think of unreasonableness as bad, but he wants to reframe that.
Yeah, I think of it as designing and delivering experiences that make people feel deeply connected, like they belong, and that really create these lasting positive memories. And I think a lot about just how we elevate the experience in downtown South Bend, and make people feel connected to the heart of our city.
Yeah, I can see why it spoke to you that way. So he's interested in all of his restaurants, and now he's on the lecture circuit. He's got some really wonderful YouTube talks on this idea of surprise and delight being part of this as well. So people go to a restaurant, they expect a nice meal. He's interested in all the little extras that will give people, as you said, stories to carry with them, things that make them feel connected. I'm just going to let this sort of stand off to the side, put a little hot pepper in here and some salt. So I'm going to move this over here. Guidara is a consultant on the show The Bear. And
yes, produced in Chicago.
Yes, that's so nice. Our glamorous neighbor to the west. And he tells a story that is kind of the apocryphal story of what unreasonable hospitality means, what it means to go above and beyond. And part of it is paying attention.
Yes,
listening to what people, that will speak to them particularly. So not just everybody gets a mint at the table, but what are people talking about? So he tells the story that then makes its way into the show, The Bear, that involves, remember he's at a 4-star restaurant, but it involves impossibly New York hot dogs. So what are you doing here? You're cutting
so
up some...
just chopping up some of the eggplant as the onions cook, and most of these things are just rough chopped. Getting the eggplants into some cubes.
All right,
and
sounds good. All right, so the hot dog story. What in the world is a story about New York hot dogs doing
in a fine dining restaurant? Well, it has to do with visitors to New York City, and yes, they're enjoying an incredible meal at his restaurant, but the staff discovers that they haven't had a New York hot dog.
Yes, they're chatting about
it.
We've eaten there, but gosh, we never ate from a hot dog cart. So what does somebody who believes in unreasonable hospitality do?
They find a way to have staff members, leave the restaurant and go find that hot dog and plate it beautifully and surprise the guests with exactly what they wanted.
Yeah, sort of crazy. You imagine, and he describes it. It's quite hilarious. Bringing these hot dogs to the chef, and the chef has to on the spot figure out. He quarters them. He plates them with these beautiful, paisley smears of condiments, and it comes to the table, and the people are just astonished, delighted. It makes my hair stand up even thinking about that description. And they've got a story forever. Right?
Yes. And the staff does as well.
Yes, absolutely. So that's in the, if you watch The Bear, and I'm just sectioning some citrus in here. I'm going to use a slightly friendlier knife for this, I think, with respect to my fingers. So in the episode of The Bear, it has to do, since it's set in Chicago, it has to do with deep dish pizza.
Yes.
So they run out and get a deep dish pizza and deliver that to a table, and same sort of thing, just absolute delight. So can we think of maybe some other examples that spoke to you about going above and beyond, helping, doing more than just serving people, but giving people a little thrill, and often a laugh is part of that. But any other scenes that stood out to you?
Well, there's another scene too that I love, where the staff ends up getting sleds and arranging an after-dinner sledding experience, and the magic of a snow, first snowfall. Or family's first experience with snow, and so that was another one that I just thought, how magical.
Yes, yeah, and as you're reading these, he says things like, I know this seems over the top, it seems unreasonable, and yet this is precisely what the business of hospitality is doing. And speaking of unreasonable, I have to just say, I do love fennel, but it is an unreasonable vegetable. So there's also, he talks about...
and so I just added in the eggplant.
Okay, great.
And with just a little bit of extra water too. And so then we're going to cover that and let it soften.
Okay, that's great. And have any of the spices gone in there yet, or those
not
go in
quite
a little?
yet?
Okay.
They'll go in. We'll let the eggplant soften, and I like to cook the eggplant a little bit longer than the recipe says to as well.
Okay.
But that's just my preference.
Well cooked eggplant is a gift to all. So some of the descriptions that he gives of the kind of service are, he says most people think about things almost to the end, but it's the final inch that matters. So he has all these just wonderful examples. I'm going to layer in this fennel and wonderful examples of something we have all experienced, which is, the delay. You sit down at a table. They ask you what kind of water you want, still or sparkling or whatever, and then you have to sort of wait.
Right.
And so they've developed this system to just make everything as quick and smooth as possible. And it's like baseball.
Yeah, they took a note from baseball, using hand signals. So the person that is receiving the order for the water is signaling
behind their back. It's kind of great.
If someone wants ice, no ice, sparkling water. I just thought that was fantastic. And what was so interesting to me too is timing and teamwork is everything.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
so all of this experience of delivering great service, it's very much time. They
Nice.
time out. And
Yes.
just to make sure something that was taking maybe a minute to get the water to the table is now, before the person even leaves the table.
Yeah, before they even
another
really
team
think
member
about it.
is delivering the order to them. So
Yeah, so I'm guessing, I read this as somebody who eats in restaurants and now will be paying attention to this, but this is kind of your business, right? So how, as you were reading this as somebody who's thinking about, the experience of people in our city,
yeah.
what kind of spoke to you and where do you see yourself kind of making use of these ideas?
Yeah, there's so much because the environment downtown is so dynamic.
Yeah.
And but we think about it very high level, like the lighting, the sidewalks,
Oh, nice.
what kind of businesses, what's open, how do you find your way between things, all the way down to very, very tiny details. So things like when you're at an event, having those extra moments of surprise and delight sort of
Yes.
baked in. One of the favorite things that I watched this summer was watching our interns develop different ideas for surprise and delight.
Yeah.
And they would come up with things like for St. Patrick's Day parade, we had these little shamrock lollipops, and they put these little stickers on it that said, we're so lucky to have you. And, they would just hand them out to people.
So those small things that mean so much. I'm going to put some
Yeah.
mint on here, and we're going to take a little break here and look at some images of Guidara at work. He's got a very rich Instagram, and we will be right back. Willow's soup has been boiling away here, simmering down. The apricots look fantastic, and you're going to finish seasoning it right now?
We are. So the eggplant has cooked up beautifully.
Oh,
I've
that looks
added
great.
the green peppers and the chopped tomatoes. And now I'm going to add these delicious spices. We've got cinnamon, allspice, and a little bit of cayenne. So that's going to go in. Just a little bit of salt. Oops. And then the paprika.
All right, wonderful. And I'm going to be making two mocktails here. So in the spirit of allowing everybody at a party or gathering to feel included, there's lots of people who are cutting back or not drinking alcohol. There's no reason you can't have an absolutely fantastic and unreasonably delicious drink. And for me, I don't drink hard alcohol at all, but we've inherited these beautiful this beautiful barware, this lead crystal, so it's a nice opportunity to use fancy glasses, sometimes just for every day.
Just for fun, yeah.
Just for fun, just to be unreasonably wonderful. So this is I'm going to make a dirty lemon tonic that starts with some lemon zing. My brother-in-law makes this. It's a preserved lemon blended up together, a little bit of sugar. We're going to muddle it together and then serve that with tonic over ice. And you're getting started on the cake.
Yes, the citrus olive oil cake. I'm adding a little bit of orange zest, and then I'm going to zest the second orange here right into the sugar. And I love this. It smells so good. You can sort of see the little oils coming right off of this.
All right, and then that's a way to just infuse the everything together in the sugar. That is a really effective technique. And I'm just putting some lemon wheels in the bottom here, and I'm going to muddle this. So we've talked a little bit about unreasonable hospitality as it's experienced by the people who are the recipients. But part of, actually a lot of Guidara's argument is you got to turn all of that same attention to the staff, right? That this
to your
is
team.
What he calls, he quotes somebody as saying, calling it enlightened hospitality, building the team. So maybe we could talk about that for a little bit, elements of what it means to invest in your staff.
Yeah, and providing that level of exceptional customer service or hospitality, you need to empower people to bring their best self to the job. And it's so much about teamwork and handoffs between people and great communication. So we have, DTSB has a small but mighty team, but we're also working in an ecosystem where our restaurants and our retailers are our partners, the city is our partner, the South Bend Police Department are our partners, our ambassadors. So there's all of these people in the ecosystem that have an effect on the downtown experience.
Yeah,
and
I like that idea of ecosystem. That's really lovely.
Yeah. Earlier this spring with the Downtown Dining Association, we did a wonderful customer service workshop, and our staff has continued to do one of the practices that we learned, which is daily affirmations.
I love this idea.
Yeah, so we start each day with our affirmations, and the last affirmation is something fabulous happens to me today.
Yeah.
So, thank you, April, for having me on this show, because this is definitely a fabulous thing that has
happened. Oh, that's great. It's fabulous for us, too. So really wonderful. And this is yogurt going into the...
Yes,
okay.
Yep, some plain whole milk yogurt, 3 eggs. I'm going to put in a half a teaspoon of vanilla, and then we're going to mix that together.
All right. That sounds great. So when he, again, Will Guidara is a restaurateur, but so many of these insights are just transferable to any organization, to an academic department, to a family even, I would say. What it means to invest in the people around you so that they can deliver. And part of that is listening really well. You mentioned communication as just essential.
Making them feel welcome to share ideas and try new things, maybe step into leadership roles before they're ready.
Yes, that's a major theme of his. Good, yeah.
Look at these beautiful yolks. I just love this color. It's just gorgeous.
Yeah. And these olive oil cakes just last for a long time. They, if you don't eat them all in the first day, I'm going to top this with some tonic. And of course, you could make this, you could put gin or vodka or something else in this if you wanted to make it an alcoholic drink. But it is super refreshing. It's got the little umami and salt from the preserved lemon at the bottom, and all these fresh lemon wheels are just really wonderful. I'm going to make a little topper for this here, maybe put in a tiny bit more ice.
So I'm going to start to just slowly combine in the dry ingredients. This is white whole wheat flour, a little bit of baking powder and salt.
Okay.
Just gently.
And then this, at what point do you combine the vegetables does this need to cook for a little while longer?
It is probably ready, so maybe just take a minute to finish getting the dry ingredients in. And
it smells fantastic, and those warm spices are just really, really lovely. And I'm just making a little unreasonably cute little skewer here of Castelvetrano olives, and so we're going to finish these drinks this way. You could drink these all day long because it's lemon and tonic. So are there other scenes or examples of the book that you feel like kind of capture this idea of what it means to invest in the people around you? He definitely has been in some negative environments, and this is like, again, we see that in The Bear, making a plan to have a kind of workplace that it is not the kitchen confidential, brutal.
Right. I love the example that he gives about the decision to open the restaurant on Thanksgiving, which historically people had always had off, and they thought of it as sort of this, a coveted holiday. And but when they really looked at it, they realized that most of the staff didn't have enough time off to travel to be with family anyways.
Right.
And so after they did a beautiful Thanksgiving dinner service, they served the same Thanksgiving meal to the staff. So they weren't considered, a second-tier guest. They got the same level of quality and beautiful presentation, and it brought the whole staff together for a beautiful meal, you know, after, at the end of the Thanksgiving service. And then they were able to build in time during a different time of the year that, you know, did make a difference for the staff to have time off to be able
Instead
to travel.
of just that Thursday.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put some pomegranate juice here in the base for these pomegranate sparklers. And, whoops, making a little splash here. So, yeah, one of his claims throughout the book is to treat everyone like a VIP.
Yes.
There's a wonderful, if you're a reader of the New York Times, Frank Bruni plays a very large role. I'd kind of forgotten that he started, now he's a columnist, of course, but he started as a restaurant reviewer, and so there's lots of kind of inside baseball about what it's like to be paying attention to a critic when they come in. But part of his point is you should every person is a critic. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, you never know when they're going to come in, and every service should be absolutely top notch. All right, I've got my olive oil nicely
the texture
blended.
of that is so silky.
It smells so good, and we're going to add it to the pan and get it into the oven.
All right, and I just put a little bit of honey in this pomegranate juice. I'm going to put just maybe, living dangerously over here, 1 or 2 ice cubes in here, and then you just finish it with some seltzer and a little sprig of bruised rosemary and a few pips, and then I'm gonna make the glaze that goes on that gorgeous cake. Oh my gosh, the color of this is just exquisite. So, and all these warm citrus flavors, they would be great for any time of year when you need a little bit of lift. So I'm gonna put this in here. One of the points that I think brings together both the back of house experience and the front of house experience is that Unreasonable Hospitality is two-directional. It feels good. This is part of, he's an extremely positive person, a positive speaker, and that good feeling that we get when we help other people, he wants us to kind of to zoom in on here, and I'm gonna
I think the delight on people's faces, you know, it's contagious. It definitely, the feedback loop of it makes you feel great too.
Yeah.
All right, so
I'm gonna put these in here. Willow's finishing up here. I'll make the little glaze right before we pull out the cake. This looks gorgeous. We're gonna take a little break now and see some images from Willow's professional life in Unreasonable Hospitality. We will be right back. And this just smells so freaking good. Wow. Willow Wetherall and I have made an unreasonably hospitable feast inspired by Will Guidara's book. Tell me what you made here. This is just smelling so delicious.
yeah, so this is the Armenian lentil soup with apricots. I'm gonna just put a little bit of plain yogurt on top with a little bit of fresh mint.
Oh my gosh, the smell, these warm spices just smell so fantastic. And then this olive oil cake, how was that finished?
Yeah, so that's just with a little citrus glaze and these beautiful edible flowers.
Okay, and you can use any kind of citrus that you like for that glaze, which is just
a little bit of lemon juice or orange juice.
Yeah, delicious. So, and I've made some non-alcoholic drinks here, pomegranate sparkler and a dirty lemon tonic. Nice excuse for people who don't drink alcohol to eat olives. So what will stay with you from this book, which is about restaurant world in part, but it really can apply to almost anything?
I think what will stay with me is the infinite creativity that people can bring to elevating an experience for someone else.
Yeah, and also the great feeling that it brings us.
Yes.
So he's got a wonderful Instagram full of clips where he captures a lot of this argument, but part of it is really about leadership and what it means to be the kind of leader who inspires.
Yeah, and empowers other people to bring their best selves.
Yes, which we see all the time in our world and in downtown South Bend, including all of the young people who are being mentored in what it means to learn, to be creative, and to be unreasonably hospitable. So I think we should have a little toast. I'm going to try this one here. Let's see how these are. Oh, it's got a nice little tang to it.
Oh, April, that's delicious.
Oh, good. So I'm going to try this one next. So we hope you will continue to cook adventurously. We did a great job here, I think, and read widely. Thank you so much, Willow, for joining me. I had a blast.
Thank you, April.
And we will see you next time on Dinner and a Book. Now I want to try this one. So.
This WNIT local production has been made possible in part by viewers like you. Thank you.
Dinner and a Book is supported by the Rex and Alice A. Martin Foundation of Elkhart, celebrating the spirit of Alice Martin and her love of good food and good friends.